I was sitting alone at Zion National Park, spending the last few days of 2025 surrounded by nature, silence, and stillness. I was reflecting on the year, thinking about creating yet another bucket list for 2026. I was feeling restless, I was feeling heavy, and I was quietly questioning everything. Why do I feel like I'm behind? Why do I feel like a loser? We have been lied to. We have been told that to live a fullest life, we need a list, a bucket list. But the truth is, my bucket list wasn't a roadmap to happiness. It was just a list of things that I hadn't done yet. Some of the best experiences I've ever had were never on the list, while the things that I want to do someday never actually happened. So this bucket list wasn't helping me live my life, but was actually making me miss it. And that realization made me take a radical decision. I started trying something completely different that changed how I look at growth, success, and even life itself. But before I tell you what it is, if we haven't met, hey, it's your pal Pallavi and welcome to my channel. This is a space where I share my real journey of self-growth, not the polished version, not the aesthetic version, but the honest, messy one in between. And today, I want to talk about something that I didn't even realize was affecting me for so many years. The anxiety I was building through bucket lists. For me, living became synonymous with checking things off a list. It was a shortcut to meaningful life, and for a while it did give me a direction. But I didn't realize it was also creating a sense of inadequacy. I wasn't chasing joy. I was chasing the image of joy. Every year, if I didn't have a perfect list by first week of January, I would panic as if I was already falling behind life. How did I get here? If I think back, I probably fell into New Year resolutions and bucket list mindset around 2012. Before that, I wasn't living by any lists or structured plans. I was more like a go with the flow kind of person because me and my husband Shiva were constantly moving and life was always unfolding unpredictably. But once we bought a home, I thought I need to be intentional. I need a list. At first, it was New Year resolutions, small intentions that I never stuck to, and slowly it turned into a bucket list. Once I hit my 30s, I started feeling like I have to beat the clock. I must accumulate as many experiences as possible to prove that I lived a full life. So at its core, the bucket list became a way of managing the fear of time slipping away. I was also deeply conditioned to believe that happiness comes from doing more and achieving more rather than simply being present in what we are already living. Slowly, life turned into a checklist of tasks where each completed task gave a small hit of satisfaction. But the truth is, our desires evolve as we grow, and life keeps shifting in the ways we cannot predict. And that's why a static bucket list can be overrated, outdated, irrelevant, and quietly disappointing over the time. I saw this in my own life. There were so many travel plans I carefully added to my bucket list over the years, but they never actually happened. I would plan them, I would imagine them, I would even mentally live them, and still they get pushed into a vague someday. And yet, some of the most meaningful trips that I've ever taken were never on any list at all. Last minute decisions, spontaneous invitations, and unplanned moments. So unlike every year, I chose to spend last days of 2025 in silence, away from chaos at Zion National Park. My first instinct was, okay, let me start planning the list of things that I want to do in 2026. But this time, instead of jumping onto goals and checklist, I paused and reflected on how the year had actually unfolded. So I started with one list, everything that didn't go well. So obviously came the question, so what actually went well? And that shift alone changed something in me. It gave me a small sense of relief. And that curiosity pushed me further. I went and looked back at the previous year the same way. So 2 lists again, what went well and what didn't go well. 3 years in the same pattern. And then I kept going further back. And somewhere in the process, I realized how much of my low feeling, the sense of being stuck, was actually coming from just one thing, feeling like life was not working out. I was only measuring life against what didn't happen and completely ignored what actually went well. I would imagine life going a certain way, but life rarely follows the script I wrote. And it unfolded in the most unexpected directions. And that would leave me so frustrated to see how many things I didn't accomplish. So I decided I would stop this ritual of obsessively creating bucket lists every year. Instead, I started making two different lists. So what are these lists called? The first one is anti-bucket list. So what is anti-bucket list? An anti-bucket list is basically opposite of a bucket list. It focuses on things that I'm no longer willing to postpone in order to feel like I'm living a full life. So if a bucket list is about adding experiences, anti-bucket list is all about removing pressures. So let me explain how my mindset towards my travel bucket list shifted after I adapted the anti-bucket list. Earlier, I used to travel to places that promised reset or relaxation with an expectation that this trip will fix how I feel. I would get temporary relief, but once I returned home, within a few days, the same heaviness would gradually come back. So travel became an emotional relief mechanism rather than something rooted in curiosity, desire, or presence. My anti-bucket list is my way of changing that. Today, I'm telling myself that I don't want travel to be a coping mechanism anymore. I want it to be a conscious choice with an intention. Another example would be how I reframed my success metrics. I will stop measuring my health by pounds or numbers. Instead, I will measure by how my body feels and functions. Can I walk long distances with ease? Can I climb stairs without pain in my knees? Can I stretch, move, and hold poses with strength and stability? So my focus shifted from appearance to capability, energy, and freedom in my body. In my context, I was using bucket list for structure and motivation. Over time, it started creating pressure and a feeling of not enough. So the anti-bucket list is my way of breaking that cycle and reclaiming presence over pressure. So that's the anti-bucket list. Now, what's the second list called? The second list is called reverse bucket list. So what is reverse bucket list? So reverse bucket list is not what you want to do in the future, but it's about what you have already lived, experienced, and survived, but never paused to acknowledge. For years, I was so focused on what I hadn't done yet and completely ignored what I had already done. I realized something very different was true. There were multiple injuries, setbacks, and physical limitations that I went through back to back. And because of that, I postponed so many things. I kept reminding myself what I couldn't do, what got delayed, what didn't happen the way I planned. But what I failed to acknowledge was this. Even in all of that, I was still showing up. I was still getting up every day, walking, working, and carrying on with life. Yes, there were things I couldn't do. Yes, there were goals that I had to pause. But at the same time, there was so much that I was still able to do. And today, I see it very clearly. Things that I never paused to appreciate. I wasn't stuck. I wasn't failing. I was actually moving through life, adapting, continuing, even when things were not right. And for that, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. So reverse bucket list is evidence that your life is actually happening, already meaningful, even though it doesn't look like your original plan. So let me quickly talk about the difference between anti-bucket list and reverse bucket list. Well, anti-bucket list and reverse bucket list may sound similar, but they're very different. So let's take a look. Anti-bucket list is how I choose to live life going forward, how I want to live differently from now on. So it's forward-looking. Whereas reverse bucket list is how I see my past. It's about acknowledging what already exists. So it's backward looking. Honestly, reverse bucket list changed something very deep in me because for the first time, I felt that my life was not incomplete. I wasn't behind. I was just not paying attention to what was already there. So, if my bucket list says that I must cover these 5 countries in Europe, my anti bucket list says I will not use travel as escape or pressure anymore, and I will only travel when I genuinely feel the craving to explore, not to fix burnout, not to escape, and not to recharge. And reverse bucket list says, look at all the trips that I took so far. They ended up being the most beautiful and meaningful experiences in my life. At some point, I realized something very simple. I wasn't using bucket list to dream bigger. I was using it to postpone living. So now I'm slowly learning to let go of pressure to complete life and focus on actually being in it. Maybe life was never meant to be checked off. Maybe it was just meant to be experienced. Our lives are constantly changing, but our bucket list don't often change. Our life and situations change. We as a person change, yet those goals stay frozen. So I have concluded that a full life isn't about completing less at all. Maybe to be present for the life that is already unfolding in front of us. Although it looks different from what we've imagined. I still have dreams. I still want to explore. I want to grow, travel, and experience new things, but I no longer want to live with this constant feeling that I'm somehow behind because everything didn't happen according to the schedule. This shift taught me something very beautiful. Life is not a project to complete, but life is all about learning and something we are meant to experience while it's happening. And maybe that's what real growth is all about. Not constantly chasing the next version of ourselves, but finally learning to acknowledge, appreciate, and fully live the version that we already are. So this year, instead of asking, what do I need to do to feel fulfilled? Instead, I'm asking, how can I be present for the life that I already have? And honestly, that realization brought so much peace and happiness than any bucket list ever did. So like always, I want to leave you with few questions. What are you constantly postponing in the name of someday? And if you stop measuring your life against all unfinished goals, what would you finally give yourself a credit for? Maybe your life is not as incomplete as you think it is. Maybe you just haven't paused long enough to see it. Please let me know your thoughts and answers in the comments. I would love to read them. If you like this episode, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you don't miss my notifications on the new episodes. I will see you soon in the next episode. Until then, take care and signing off. It's your pal Pallavi.